Shem. Today's daf yomi is Avodah Zarah daf Yud Aleph, and we're going to start on the top line. Today's daf is dedicated for a shmir for the Chayalim Atzah for the Shvuyim and Yeshua for Am Yisrael. The daf yomi tells us that Unclus Bar Kolonimus Igayer, he converted, and we know that he Yud Aleph Amid Aleph at the top. So Unclus Bar Kolonimus Igayer, Unclus the son of Kolonimus or Colonicus, converted. He was the nephew of Titus. So Shadar Kizar Gunda Deromi Abasre. So the Caesar sent a Roman garrison after him. Mashchinu Bikrai. So Unclus were on top of 11a. Unclus converted them through the Psukim. Igayer, and they converted. Hadar Shadar Gunda Deromai Achrina. He sent another Roman garrison Abasre after him. Amar Lahu, he said to them, Lo Tamru Midu, don't speak to him. Kavishaku Va'azu, when they were taking him and going, Amaru Emuchu Milsa Ba'ama. He said, let me just say like one small thing to you. What did he say to them? He said to them, Niporia Naked Nura Kame Piporia. He says, let's say you have an officer and he's less important, and he holds the torch in front of somebody. Here's a Gemara, Bill. Somebody who's more important than Piporo, a Duchsa, and Duchsa, Agmon, and Agmono, Akuma. Meaning to say, everybody holds the torch for the one who's higher than them in the rankings. But Koma, Minaka, Normi, Kame, Inche. But does the king hold the torch before the people who are lower than him? Amri Lelo. So the soldier said no. So Unclus responded, Amri Lelo, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Naked Nura, Kame, Israel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he holds the torch for the Jewish people. Our God loves us so much. As it states, God walks before them. Igor Kul, so all of them converted. We're on top of 11a. He sent another garrison after them. So this time, again, the emperor said, don't speak to him. When they were taking him, Unclus saw a mezuzah that was on the entrance to the house. He put his hand on it. He didn't kiss it, but he put his hand on it. So Amrulu, my eye. So the soldier said, "What's going on?" Amrulu. So Amrulu, they said to him, "Emo anat." They said, "You tell us what's going on." Amrulu. So he said, "Minhag l'sholam." He says, "The way of the king of flesh and blood is minhag." The way of the flesh and blood is that the king stays inside and the soldiers stay outside and guard him. But God, his servants are inside and he guards them outside, as it says. So they all converted to Basri. Then they stopped sending people after Unclus. So now, since we're talking about Antoninus and Rebbe, we see their source for their relationship from the Psukim. Vayomer Hashem La, God said to Rivka, Shnei Goyim b'v'nech, you have two nations in your womb. Amar Rav Yehuda Marav, Al tikri Goyim el Goyim, two princes. The Antoninus v'Rebbe. This refers to Antoninus and Rebbe. Shelo pasku me'al shulchanam. Then they never stopped having on their table lo chazeres, not the lo kishos, well, it's no, not lettuce or chazeres, the maror. Kishus is the squash, and sinon is the radish. Not in the winter or the summer. As we learned that the radish basically cuts up the food. And the lettuce, it flips it over in the digestive system. Kishus and the squash broadens it, that you can eat a lot. And Rabbi Antoninus needed it because they would bring a lot of food to their meals. So does squash really help? Why is squash called kishuin? Because it's bad for your stomach. It depends when it says that it's bad, if it's with large squash. When it says it's good, it's with small squash. And then the Gemara says, we learned in our Mishnah, these are the holidays of the idolaters, the day of the birth and the day of the death of the king. That's the position where Meir Chachamim say any death which has sreifa, where they burn the utensils of the king, that's considered idolatry. But if they don't have burning, it's not considered idolatry. So says the Gemara, Miklad or Meir Savar, must be Meir's of position, Loshna Misa Sheyesh Bas Sreifa, Loshna Misa She'ein Bas Sreifa. That it doesn't matter if there's burning associated with it or not. Palchi Ba'al Avodas Chavim. So that it's considered worship for idolatry. We see from here, Alma, Sreifa, Lav Chukai. So we see from here that according to our mayor, the idolaters don't have a fixed law of burning for idolatry. But when we call the Rabbanan Savri Sreifa Chukai, but the rabbis say burning is a fixed law of the idolatry. But it can really be the case that the rabbis say that burning is a fixed law of idolatry, and so therefore one cannot do it. But Tanya, Sarfin Amalachim. We learned about the kings of Israel that you're supposed to burn their possessions. Velomi Darkei Amori, and this is what we learned in Maseches Sanhedrin, that you're supposed to burn the possessions of the king. On Sanhedrin Nun Beis Amabeis, and it's not considered the ways of the Amorites. And if you're going to say that this is a law of the idolaters, how do we practice the law of the idolatry? You're not allowed to walk in their ways. Gemara says, everybody says Sreifa is not the law of the idolaters. They don't. So it's not. It's when you burn the king's possessions, it's not considered worshiping them. El chashivusahi. It's considered chashivus. It's considered distinguished. And this is how they argue. Rameir Savar. Roshna Misa Sheyesh Basreifa, Roshna Misa She'ein Basreifa. But it's considered chashivus, meaning to say it's not considered like it's worshiping them. It's considered just something that's important. Like, for example, this is why you can wear like a cap and gown at graduation. It's not, even though it's the way of the not necessarily Jewish people to do this, but it's not considered worship. It's just a way of like adding gravitas to the occasion. And this is the dispute. Rameir says, Loshna Misa Sheish Basreifa, Loshna Misa She'ein Basreifa, Balchi Ba'al Avodas Kochavim. It doesn't matter whether they burn or not, nevertheless, they are worshiping their idolater because they make the day of the death of the king a holiday. Rabbanan Savri Misha Sheish Basreifa Chashivu. The rabbis say, no, if they're burning the objects of the king, that's an indication that he was an important king, and they're worshiping him. If there's no burning indication he's not an important king, then they weren't worshiping him. So now the Gemara challenges this gufa. No, Gemara analyzed it. We burn the possession of the king, and it's not considered the ways of the Amorites. Shenemar, as it states in Jeremiah, B'shalom tamutu v'misrafot avasecha amlachim. Just like we burn the king's possession, so do we burn the prince's possession. What do we burn from the king? We burn their beds and their weapons. When Rabbi Gamliel died, they burned for him, Uncles burned for him 70 tire utensils. 70 tire utensils. The Gemara says, but didn't we just say you're just supposed to burn their beds and their weapons? Why is he burning this stuff? Ema. So we have to say, Bishivim monitoring, that he burnt his weapons in 70 utensils. But if it's not one of his klei tashmish, you're not allowed to burn it. But didn't we say that what they used to do for the kings was they used to cut the tendons of their horses so that no other king would take it. And that's not considered the way of the Amorites. Amar Papa, this is Sus Sharachavav. This is only talking about the horse that the king rode on. So therefore it's his weapon in war. But an animal that he didn't ride on, you're not allowed to do it. So the Gemara says, Ubehema Torah, and if it's an animal that he didn't ride on it, like let's say like a sheep, you're not allowed to do it. If after he died, Vatanya Ikor Sheyesh Ba Treifa Asar, V'She'ein Ba Treifa Mutar. But didn't we say if you make the animal treifa, it's prohibited to do it, but if it doesn't, you can. Ve'ezu ikor she'en ba treifa. And what's an ikor that there's no treifa? This is hamanasher parso samana kubra lamalta. That is, if you cut we're on top of 11b. If you cut the hooves or the tendon from the knees below, and so anyway, we see from here that the Bryce is talking about a kosher animal where the laws of treifa apply, and we see that you're allowed to mutilate it even though it's not its kli tashmish. So because you can't ride on it, so Targum Rav Papa be'egla moshechas b'kar. No, that Bryce is talking about a calf that was pulling the wagon, and so therefore it's considered like his weapons or his utensils. So then we also learned in the Mishnah, these are the holidays of the idolaters, the day where he shaved his beard. So in addition to shaving off his face, he also used to have a boreas, which was like a ponytail in the back. So what are we talking about? The day he cut his beard but he would leave behind his ponytail, or the day that he did both, he cut his beard and his ponytail. We have a brisa that learns both of them. Yom Tigachas Zekanova Nachas Purio. Yom Tigachas Zekanova Avaras Purio. Meaning to say, both the day of the day where he would leave the boreas, the ponytail, was a holiday, and also the day where he would remove it was a holiday. They had another holiday in Rome. Once every 70 years, they would bring a person that had no blemish. That's a reference to Esav. They would put him on a man who has a limp. Well, that's a reference to Jacob. Big day Adam Rishon. They would dress him in the garments of Adam. And they would put on his head the karkiflo, like a skin or fur. Sharabi Ishmael. Basically, they would take on his head like the skin of a human being, Moscow, and they would hang from his neck a precious stone that weighed 400 zuz, and they would cover up the thighs with other precious stones. I think we called it a carbuncle. And they would shout it before him, the calculation of this person plaster is false. Because Jacob had said that in the end they'll be redeemed, and he says it's not coming. Achua de Marana Zayafa, the brother of this forger, is Esav. The one who sees it now will be happy, and anyone who doesn't see it will never be able to see it. What does it help to a liar when he lies, and what does it help to a fraudster when he's fraud? Meaning, say these blessings, Jacob was deceptive, and it didn't help him at all. And then also they finish it off like this: Vavei ledin kayokum din. Woe to Esav when Jacob, meaning to say, it's not 100% makes sense, but he says, woe to Esav when Jacob will get up and bring him to court in the end of days. So they're saying in a way that doesn't make sense. If they would say the forger, this forger is the brother of our master, who's Esav, then it'll make sense. But what are they saying? The Marana Zayafni, the brother of our master, the forger, Marana Gufei Zayfanu. It's like they're saying that their ancestor Esav is the forger. Vidana Didan my time. So why doesn't our Tana list this amongst the holidays? So he says, this holiday only happened every 70 years, so he didn't count. He only counted the ones that happen every year. So the Gemara says all these holidays that are listed in the Mishnah, Hani Deromai, these are the holiday of Romans to the Parasaimai, Mutradiv Yaski Moharnaki Moharan. What are the holidays of the Persians? These are the holidays that are called by these dates. What about the Babylonians? What are their holidays? These are their holidays. Amrav Hanan Bar Chisda, Amrav Amriway, Amrav Hanan Barav, Amrav Hamisha Bati Avodas Kochon Klunim. There are 5 established houses of idolatry. The Eloin, base Bel Bavel, base Nevo, Bebursi, base Tidata, Shebe Mafag, and Srifa, Shebe Eshkon, and Nisha, Shebe Barvia. All of these are always worshiping idolatry, so you can never do business with them. They're open 20, they're idolatrous factories. Also, Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, Husifu Lein Yerid Shebein Bechi, Nidbacha Sheba'ako, and some say Ika de Amri Nidbara Sheba'ako. Rav Dimi min Ardai Mas, the appealing to opposite Yerid Sheba'ako v'Nidbaka Shebein Bechi. Amrei Rav Chanan Bar Rav Chisda Mai Kvun Hein. What does it mean when it says that these are fixed idolatrous places? Amrei Hachig Amar Avua Dimech. This is what your mother's father said, that they're established to worship there all the time, and so therefore they're always bringing sacrifices. So therefore you can never do business with them. Amar Shmuel, Begoa, outside of Eretz Yisrael, even though our Mishnah says that you can't do business with them 3 days before, outside of Eretz Yisrael, the only day that's prohibited is the day of the festival itself. Yom Edom Nami Miyasar is the day of their holiday itself, even prohibited. But Rav Yehuda Shari Rav Brona was Abune Chamra. But then Rav Yehuda allowed Rav Brona to sell wine, or Rav Gidel was Abune Chitin to sell wheat. Bechagta Detai on the day of the merchants of these Arabs. So Gemara says no. Shana Chagte. This law, this holiday of the merchants is different. It's not a fixed holiday. Some years they don't do it, so it's not considered a holiday. Okay, that's today's daf. We did it a little quickly, but Baruch Hashem, there's a lot of inyanim there to go over. A lot of beautiful inyanim. The law of Chukosem and the law of Unkos, and God willing, we'll pick it up again tonight. Shekoyach to everybody.